Hello and welcome everyone, it is me, Deliver, also known as Synchro Duelist, back for you with another video and another deck profile for a deck that I at least haven't touched in a constructed sense yet. But that changed the last couple of days because, as you guys know, I've been kind of looking for maybe a new TCG archetype to give a shot. And a suggestion from the man, the myth, the legend, plus Perfect was Speedroids. Really good suggestion there. Thank you very much for that. But let's get into this deck list. Starting off here with 3 Win the Wind Channeler. This is easily able to discard itself and another wind monster to add a wind monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. But you're locked into wind monster effects for the rest of the turn. Not only a very good effect that basically lets you toolbox through your entire monster lineup of Speedroids, but also, you know, yeah, pretty much that's it, you know. For the first actual Speedroid here, we have a rubber band playing. This is able to special itself if you special a monster. Also has an effect where you can drop the attack of a monster if this hits the board. Just one of the many good extender you are playing, good extenders you're playing to make up your combos. So yeah, another free body here in a Primitive Butterfly. This can special itself if you control no monsters, and once per turn you can increase the level of all insect type monsters by 1, so making this a 6. If you're looking for like another body here, you can also probably look into Wandering Griffin Rider. That's also a free body, maybe a level 7, so might come up if you are, you know, opting to maybe play Baron in this extra deck, which I am not, because this was constructed for maybe getting this IRL, and I'm not spending 50 euros on a Baron. Then we have another Speedroid here, and Speedroid Double Yo-Yo. When this is normal summoned, you can target a level 3 or lower Speedroid engrave and special summon that target. Very good effect, not only in combos, if you, you know, nail this off of a rubber band shooter, but also just something good to grab back on a follow-up with like a speed recovery. Next up we have a Speedroid Hostels here. If this is normal summon, you can special a level 4 or lower Speedroid from your hand, and during the main phase, except the turn this was sent to the grave, you can banish it and send a wind monster from deck to graveyard. A great way to maybe get like a Den Daiko Duke into the graveyard, or like, you know, a card turbo maybe, but mainly maybe the Den Daiko Duke. Then we have one of the newer cards in Fuki Modoshi Piper here. If this guy hits the board, you can excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of other wind monsters you control, and then add any excavated one of the excavated cards, not any. It's from those, you know, excavated cards to your hand. The rest gets placed on the bottom in any order. Insanely cracked effect. This is just a good effect to either like get yourself, you know, of course, one of the many extenders you're playing into your grip, to maybe continue playing if you're in dire need for that. But otherwise, just adding like an Ash Blossom, an Imperm, maybe a Duplicate to, you know, kind of diversify your interactions on your endboards a bit is a really sick option. Has a level modulation effect if you banish this from the graveyard, targets a level 3 or higher wind and drops its level by 2. Very neat, didn't come up until now, but it's still just nice to have. The deck is very non-linear, so having effects like these is pretty sick. Terratop, of course, crazy card since it's limited. Also very crazy in this. If you control the monsters, you're able to special this, and if this hits the board, you're adding another Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. In most cases, that will be the Take Tomborg, but you're not overlaying these two for a Dante, I can tell you that. 2 copies of Den Daiko Duke follows suit. You can manage this guy from the graveyard and special a Speedroid tuner from hand or graveyard. Of course, good extender. Yeah. Half of these are just good extender. Enough said. Then we have a card turbo here. This is able to special summon itself from your hand if you control a wind monster. Special summonable tuners, I think, always appreciated in many Synchro archetypes. This guy also has a neat graveyard effect where you can banish this and another Speedroid, and then give all wind monsters you currently control 800 attack, which I think is a very sizable boost. So that definitely might help you push you over that, you know, threshold to maybe go for game. Really, really cool card. Then we have, you know, the Take Tomborg, the partner in crime to Terratop. If you control a wind, special this guy from hand. You contribute this guy, special a Speedroid tuner from deck. You summon red-eye dice 90% of the time. Summon the red-eye dice target Terratop, make it a 2. So you're able to make a Cork Blaster, because Cork Blaster is crazy. 3 Ash Blossom here. And then we move on to 3 copies of Speedroid Marble Machine. If this is normal summoned, you can add any Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. Most of these restrict you into wind monsters specifically if you use their effects. Marble Machine and Takatomborg are the main ones, but since you will be like resolving these like every combo line you will be taking, even the lock on wind doesn't really hurt you. And you do still have like a good toolbox of extra dex effects to go for. Speedroid Red Eye Dice, quickly mentioned this before, if this hits the board, you can target another Speedroid you control except Red Eye Dice and declare a level from 1 to 6. It becomes that level until the end of this turn. Helps you, you know, set up your different Synchro levels, especially since this isn't, you know, a once per turn. So if, you know, this hits the board, you can modulate a level and then keep going. Speedroid Scratch, I don't see this commonly run in list. I get why, I guess, but I think this is still nice to have as a one-off. You send a Speedroid card from your hand to the graveyard and add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. You're limited to 1 scratch per turn. This could probably also be a Foolish, and you'd be just as well off, or like maybe another generic staple. I like having Scratch here for like some more toolboxing through the monster lineup. Monster Reborn here is a generic extender. As an archetypal extender, we are playing 3 copies of Speed Recovery. This is a Monster Reborn for a Speedroid monster in your graveyard, and during the main phase, except the turn this was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this from there and target a Speedroid in your grave to add it back to your hand. Great your recovery effect that does help you immensely, you know, to getting back into a game on a turn 3 and beyond. Since this deck isn't like insanely explosive turn 1, you're making like maybe 2 to 3 synchro bosses at most. And this just kind of helps you, you know, maybe secure a game on like, you know, a follow-up if you live that turn. 3 copies of Speedroid Roulette here. This discards a card, rolls a 6-sided die, very familiar with rolling those. And then you can special summon from your hand and or deck 1 or 2 Speedroid monsters whose total level equal that result. But their effects are negated, and if you don't summon, you lose life points equal to the result times 500. You don't have a combination in here that is bad. Rolling a 1 still nets you a red eye dice, rolling a 2 maybe nets you 2 red eye dice, or like a Marble Machine, but in most cases I'd probably go for 2 dice. Since that's like a rubber band shooter in itself. So yeah, Roulette's a crazy card. If you don't draw this, you can still add it off of a Cork Blaster. If you've drawn it, you don't need to add it off a Cork Blaster, which is pretty nice. Caught by the Grave is here against hand traps. This deck can take like a bit of a beating in its combos. You do maybe hard fold to Nibiru, but that's like about it, because funnily enough, Crystal Wing the deck doesn't establish Crystal Wing before like summon number 15. Then we have 3 Imperm here, just another good generic hand trap, and one of the cards that I am very familiar with because of bulk only Yu-Gi-Oh! And I partially probably really like it because of that, because this is Speedroid Duplicate. This banishes a wind monster from your graveyard to target a card your opponent controls and return that to the hand. And during the main phase, if this is in your graveyard, you can target a level 2 or higher Speedroid monster you control, reduce its level by 1, and then you special summon this as a normal monster Machine Tuner Wind level 1 attack and defense 0. Still a trap, but that effect is once per duel. Really like the idea of like an archetypal comparison of this combo heavy deck. Yeah, it's just kind of neat to have like an interruption in your archetype that isn't like dead to Dark Ruler no more. So yeah, really like the card for it. In the extra, we have a bike. We have bike. We have High Speedroid Clearwing Rider here. This can help you clean up some boards because it's able to, during the main phase, roll a 6-sided die, shuffle wind monsters from your graveyard into your deck up to the result, and then you can destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number shuffled back. And if you do, this guy gains 500 for each destroyed card. But this is also not bad turn 1, because during your opponent's main phase, you can quick effect tribute the Synchro Summoned card and special summon up to 2 level 7 wind Synchro monsters with different names from each other from your extra deck. That's why you're playing the Clearwing and the Clearwing Fast Dragon. Clearwing Synchro Dragon is like a good disruption against, you know, of course, level 5 or higher monsters, or when, you know, level 5 or higher monsters get targeted by monster effects. And Clearwing Fast Dragon is just good against any extra deck monster, you know, targeting that, changing attack to 0, and negating the effects until the end of the turn. Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon is an absolute house of a boss monster. Takes a tuner Synchro and a non-tuner Clearwing monster. Once per turn when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can make this guy unaffected by activated monster effects until the end of the turn. And also gains the attack of that opponent's monster that activated its effect. And this is also a spell trap negate, and this also floats. If the Synchro Summoned card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add any wind monster from your deck to your hand. This guy does a lot, and is a crazy cool boss monster to end on. Really sick card, to be honest. Playing a Shen here, macro just kind of wins you a lot of games, as previously mentioned. If you want to spend the money or like don't care about, you know, playing the exact list you would be playing IRL in an online setting, put a Baron in this. Just put a Baron in this. For like maybe the Shen or like maybe like a second Cork Blast or something. High Speed Rod Kite Drake, another card I'm very familiar with due to bulk only Yu-Gi-Oh! Takes a machine tuner and a non-tuner monster. If this is Synchro Summoned, activate one of those effects. Either destroy all other cards on the field or negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls. Both incredibly cool effects if you're playing into a board. There's definitely a lot of decks that would rather not get their board wiped. And there's also a lot of decks that would rather not get their entire field negated. Funnily enough, this guy also floats, because if this guy in your position is sent to the graveyard by your opponent, you can add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. Pretty sick boss monster, really like this guy. Crescent Wing Synchro Dragon, I feel like needs no introduction. Once per turn, monster negate, gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack, and if he battles level 5 or higher during damage calc, he gains the attack of that monster. Excelsior Crusader's Dragon, just a nice extender, potentially helps you easily get into a Shen if you've already like resolved the red eye dice. But sometimes, you know, just getting a body back is pretty sick. Another thing you can turn into a Clearing Rider, because Clearing Rider only needs a non-tuner Wind Synchro. Talked about the Clearings here. We're playing a Wind Pegasus at Ignister. You're not really making this, but mainly playing this as like a level 7 target for your Rubber Band Shooter to banish. But, you know, the Spell Trap removal effect can, of course, be pretty nice if you actually end up hard making this. We have a High Speed Rod Hagoida here. You contribute this to increase the level of all monsters you currently control on the field by 1. But the most important part is that if this is in a graveyard and you control a Speedroid tuner, you can just summon this back. Pretty crazy effect, just gives you another level 5 body to work with for your Synchro plays. Especially when you consider that this is a level 5 Synchro monster. You have a special summonable level 3 tuner. If you do the math, that's a Crystal Wing. You can definitely up Crystal Wing to 2, I feel like. I've been on 2 for like a long time and only on 1 Rubber Band Shooter. I feel like the second Rubber Band Shooter is like really nice for follow-up turns. But if you like find any space in here, maybe the Excelsior Synchro Starters or something, a second Crystal Wing is not only like good in this deck, but also realistically makeable. High Speed Rod Puzzle is another piece of good recovery. This, if it battles, a special summon monster can double its attack until the end of the damage step. But mainly, you will be using this following effect. Once per turn during the end phase, if this Synchro Summon card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can target a Speedroid in your grave, add it to your hand. You do have a lot of, funnily enough, very floaty kind of advantage generating effects in this deck, which is really sick because you're playing a very like combo heavy deck that can make some rather impressive boards, but you're still able to retain a lot of value on a follow-up, which is very cool. I really like that. 2 copies of High Speed Ride Cork Blaster here, or Cork Shooter. I've talked about this guy a couple of times. If this guy is Synchro Summoned, you either add a Speedroid Spell Trap from deck to hand, or if all materials that would use for the Synchro Summon of this card were Speedroid monsters and are still in your graveyard, you can special all of them. Again, if you have like a roulette in hand, you probably use the second effect for this to get like another free Rubber Band Shooter in. Otherwise, you can definitely add roulette of this, but I think the second effect is so much more powerful in a lot of lines that you will just be going for like this. Summon back the materials, make a Rubber Band Shooter. On the topic of Rubber Band Shooter, this guy during the main phase, immediately after that resolves, allows you to normal summon a Wind monster, locks you into Synchros, but that's like not really an issue. And the second effect is why, you know, as previously mentioned, we play the Wind Pegasus maybe. You can banish a Wind Synchro monster from your extra deck. Reveal 2 Speedroid monsters with different names from your deck whose total levels equal the level of that Synchro. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to add to your hand, the other gets dumped. Good combinations include stuff like Double Yo-Yo Denden Daiko Duke, Fuki Modoshi Piper and Denden Daiko Duke also go great together. Maybe adding like a Takatomborg if you haven't used it by then is also pretty sick. A lot of these one-offs look weird in, you know, the list. But the deck actually is very good at kind of tying it all together because you do have good ways to get through each and every single one of them depending on what you need in that combo. But we will probably not be looking at combos, but at an actual match I played in testing with this. So let's have a look at that. Here we are moving into game 1 against Hero. Definitely not the most competitive deck, but I think we are also not playing the most competitive deck in the room, so I think that is fine. We're going for a win here for a Terror Top. I do get a bit greedy here and go Terror Top, add Marble Machine. Marble Machine grabs me the Take Town block, I special the Take, summon the Red Eye dice, turn this into a 2, make Cork Shooter. I decide to summon the materials here because I already have a roulette in hand. Modulate the levels, turn Marble Machine and Red Eye Dice into a Rubber Band Shooter, banishing the Excel Synchro Stardust for Double Yo-Yo and Fuki Piper. Grab back the Red Eye Dice here, turn this into a 6, make Clearwing Dragon to have the opportunity to go into Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Summon back the Fuki Piper, at which point I do realize I've banished the Excel Synchro Stardust, which is a bit of a bummer. So I use the Speed Recovery here to turn that into a 4. Make a Synchro, turn that into Crystal Wing. Add back the Double Yo-Yo here in end step. Could have also been like the Terror Top, but I decided to go with the Double Yo-Yo just because, you know, Double Yo-Yo can still summon back Terror Top. He, you know, leads with the Hero Lives. I feel pretty good about ashing that, to be honest, even if I should have probably held that for like a potential Fusion Destiny. But I do still have the Spell Trap Negate on my Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon, so I don't feel too threatened by that. Once he decides to go for the Ferris line, I just slap down the Crystal Wing Negate for that, duplicate the Blast, and have, you know, as previously mentioned, still the Spell Trap Negate for the Fusion Destiny. As you can see, we ended on a fairly impressive board there. Didn't even have to use the roulette, so I do still have that for the follow-up. Was able to grab back a Double Yo-Yo and ended on a tower against monster effects with a Spell Trap Negate attached. A very solid, you know, monster negating Crystal Wing and a Compulse with an Ashen Hand. Very sick board, especially considering that the deck at large is rather limited by, you know, once per turn clauses. But with that, let's move into game 2. Moving into this game 2 here against Hero. I decided to be funny and side on the Nibiru's in the hopes of drawing them. But I was not kinda rewarded enough with that. This time I don't feel like ashing the Hero Lives. Since going first, I feel like one Ash against Hero does like about nothing. So I decide to hold that for like a potential Cross Crusader to keep him off of like Destiny Hero Plasma or like a Fusion Destiny to keep a DP from hitting the board, which will not work, as you are about to see. He goes for Wonder Driver here, fuses into Sunriser, uses the Wonder Driver to reset the poly, uses the Sunriser to add a Miracle Fusion. We're going Crosskeeper here, summon back Stratos. Weirdly enough, no effect on the Stratos there. Does summon with the effects negated? Yeah, negate its effects if summoned from the graveyard. We go Miracle Fusion for Ab-Zero here. We draw a couple cards of Crosskeeper. Decide to shuffle back the Plasma, weirdly enough, and keep the, I think, Dark Angel in hand because we don't have enough Destiny Heroes in grave. I feel very threatened by this board. My own one, like, scary thing would have been Plasma, but he decides not to end on Plasma. I go here for the win for Marble Machine, if I've seen that correctly. Marble Machine add a copy of... what did I add off of Marble Machine? I think I used a card turbo there. Still have, you know, the materials to make a Rubber Band Shooter after the DPE pop. Make Cork Blaster here. Cork Blaster go for like a Speedroid Spell Trap. Use the roulette here to pitch the Fuki Piper, but sadly just get a Red Eye Dice out of it. Summon the Rubber Band Plane, make something lose 500. I decide to make Kite Drake here to negate his board. Give everything bonus attack, just walk over the Sunriser and have to pass because I just can't contest for big idiots. On the next turn, he decides to link off the DP to revive that off of a Cross Crusader. Sadly, the Kite Drake float gets ashed, and he gets in for a lot of damage. And in this position, funnily enough, I don't see myself winning this, but oddly enough, in this moment, a friend of mine like must have spotted me randomly being on Edo Pro, and was in like the spectator chat being like, "I know you can do it." So this is about to turn into some real anime shit. I top deck into Win, which is a very good top deck. Use the Speed Recovery here to grab back Terror Top from the graveyard, which is an insane card on the follow-up or just by itself. Get very greedy here, go for the Marble Machine because I still have, you know, enough extension in hand for a potential rubber band shooter, even if he decides to activate the DPE sooner. He DPEs on the Hagoida. I don't really care. I still have the card turbo in hand, can summon that. Summon back the Hagoida, make Crystal Wing, card turbo, banish for, you know, the whole board getting some attack points. This was a bit int, I do have to say. Activating the card turbo this early is definitely not correct. Wait with that a bit longer, or until you're really about ready to commit into the battle phase. Still have enough, you know, bodies on board to make a rubber band shooter. Banish an 8 for that. Go W-Yo Hostiles there. Use the rubber band shooter to summon the W-Yo, grab back the cork shooter, make a clear wing Synchro Dragon, walk over his entire board, and win the duel. Very anime finish on like a situation where I definitely didn't think I was able to come back. But I think this is a weird strength of the deck, that you do have a lot of gas to cook with, even on a turn 3 for a this combo heavy deck. But I think we'll see each other again with the deck list for maybe some closing thoughts. Well, there's only like really need to like reiterate what I said when going over the deck initially. This is an incredibly fun deck. I think as a Morphtronic player, I really enjoyed myself playing this because it feels very similar to Morphtronics. The combos are very non-linear, maybe not dictated by RNG as much as Morphtronics, but still a lot of options for potential extensions are there that you can take. And another neat thing is you are not very much dead on like a turn 3 or beyond. Since, you know, cards like Speed Recovery or like Puzzle, potentially even Chanbara if you decide to play that, I don't think it's too crazy. Give you a lot of ways to secure yourself even a good amount of plays on, you know, a follow-up turn. Boards are pretty impressive, as you saw, you know, making like Crystal Clear Wing, Crystal Wing Dragon is not something for which you need like the craziest hand in the world. And even if anything, Crystal Wing is a very solid end board monster, even, you know, by itself, backed up by like an Imperm and a Duplicate. So in general, I really enjoyed this. Have not given Speedroid like a huge shot in Constructed yet. Only played like a very scuffed version for bulk only Yu-Gi-Oh! So I was like kind of familiar with how this deck operated, but of course, you know, Constructed and limited play are two different worlds altogether. So once again, huge thank you for Plusquamperfect for this like incredibly cool like recommendation. I can only recommend it as well. Incredibly cool deck with a lot of depth to it. You could probably like take a free weekend, just sit down and you know, continuously go through test hands. And by the end of the weekend, I guarantee you, you will still not have found every single line in this deck. Because you do have like a lot of moving pieces and a lot of ways to get to your end boards. But with that out of the way, what are your thoughts on this deck down below? I would like to hear that. So yeah, I will thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys again next time. But until then, goodbye.